record. Very good. Very nice.
Very good.
Beautiful.
We're set. Thank you.
This is very anniversary. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, link it in. When you start to continue with this, link it.
What's next? Okay, we're going to start here in about a minute. We're going to go out into the hallway and make sure we get everyone back into the room, and we will start our session, the second half of our morning session. Okay, why don't we go ahead and get started? So just before the break, we were talking about the importance of demonstrating the institutional effectiveness, the effectiveness of our programs, in our courses, in our entire institution. And we looked at a number of factors. One, the retention, persistence, and completion of learners. And then we said after they leave the institution has a responsibility to evaluate the success of its graduates. And then I asked, what data do you collect on the success of your graduates? Right? And then we discussed some of those factors. And I gave an illustration, an example of Brown University and their alumni survey results. So you get a sense of the questions they ask and the data they obtain from their learners. If you're interested, you can go out to Brown's website and play around with it a bit, and maybe select some of the drop-down items and see how students responded to it. It may help you if you've not created an alumni survey to create one, to look at a few different sources. There are quite a few online. What I typed in to get this one is alumni survey data, and it just listed a number of universities. And I like Brown, so I picked Brown's. But there's a lot that's out there. Many accrediting bodies expect that you put it on your website, the results. So because of that expectation, the data is readily available for our consideration. Right before the break, there was a conversation about two things. One, should we survey stakeholders like employers or client sites to gather information, direct information about their experience with our graduates? There was the discussion about parent satisfaction. And I said I wasn't as familiar with academic surveys that dealt with parent satisfaction. But I would suspect that some universities have a development office or a fundraising office that perhaps surveys parents to get their perceptions of the institution. I'm not certain it's a direct indicator for learning, but an institution may consider them to be an important stakeholder, and one or more offices may want to survey parents. But as we're talking about the academic enterprise, the effectiveness of what we teach and how well students learn, getting student impressions of that and the stakeholders who engage our students, like employers, is probably essential. So, good practice, do an alumni survey. Better practice, oh my goodness. batteries. Sir. We are back broadcasting. Thank you. Good practice, conduct an alumni survey. Best practice would be find a way to connect with relevant employers and survey them. So I've got a couple strategies I want to offer you on that second part. Okay, and it comes to me with the help of an online tool called LinkedIn. I don't know if I told you this, but we're starting to require that our students create LinkedIn accounts so that they can be networked professionally within their community. Sort of supports the idea that what you talked about in terms of getting alumni groups together to support each other. There are a lot of existing networks and groups that are available, and certainly students can create their own, and universities can create their own in support of their learners. But LinkedIn is a virtual community that's global. I don't know, I think there's some 800, 900 million people on it. And I find that a substantial population of our graduates are on LinkedIn. And let me show you a tool that's there for people like you and me to help us with our work. So I'm going to pull up LinkedIn here. Let me go back. So I go to the top of LinkedIn and there's a category called Interest Education. I click on Education. And it allows you to search by university. So I'm going to type in my university, which is Franklin University. And what this does for me is it tells me that I have 34,000 alumni who are on LinkedIn. 34,000. And it tells me, if I search by students and alumni, where they live, where they work, what they do, what they studied, what they're skilled at, and how I'm directly connected to them. It's interesting. Of my graduates, I'm connected to, second connections, 5,000 of them in some way. That's pretty good. Okay. So, but what's really cool about this tool is, let's say you have a question. Like, how many of my students work for Nationwide Insurance? Well, I can see there are 666 of them. More than that. But if I click on this bar, it'll tell me exactly who they are, where they live, what professions they're in. You see, all the bars changed once I clicked on that. So I might say, let me survey Nationwide Insurance about my IT employees, IT graduates, because they have 221 of them are in IT. Senior Vice President, so I might click on that bar to further limit my search just to IT professionals.
Excuse me. So you type in the search engine Franklin University, right?
Yes. So I typed Franklin University just for my university first.
Okay.
And then I typed on, I hit an employer and what they do, and it sort of continued to limit it down for me. And all of their pictures are on here. I can tell you who they are. If I keep scrolling down, it'll just keep pulling up their 220 something pictures of people and their roles. Got some vice presidents. And I should be pretty happy. They're doing some pretty good jobs here in IT. Let's try something else. Let's see. I'm curious. This is what I do. Before I go to different countries, I think I might have mentioned this to you all. I'll type in the name of a country to see who's there. Like, let's say I'm going to Oman next weekend. type in tells me that I have 34 who are living in the Sultanate of Oman, those graduates. What year they graduated? 15, 13, 14, 14, 13.
The year.
That's the year they graduated. And their roles. It might help you to identify which companies you would want to survey. Because you don't want to try to survey them all. You might want to survey 5 or so, get a better sense of it. Or you might determine by profession and work it that way. So let's try that. So, what they study, what they do, what they study. So business administration, 7,000, accounting. So let me click on accounting.
Sorry, can I just ask, are you able to go from country to the country?
Yes.
Is there a country?
Yeah, just type the country in there. You can say where they live, and you can click, yeah. So, where they live. So, if you scroll down here to show more, it can tell you what countries they're in. That's for just accounting. So, I have 64 employees that are working for JP Morgan Chase in accounting, and they live, I mean, you can see where they all live. Scroll down. It's a very cool tool, I think. It helps with determining what are your alumni doing, how well are they progressing in their field, and of course, we talked about engaging constituents in our work. Some of my programs have what's called alumni advisory boards. So in addition to alumni surveys, we've identified some of the successful alumni, and we asked them to give us input on what's required in their field, what they'd like to see in future graduates, how might they have improved their program, what would they do to improve our program. The alumni advisory boards have been really powerful for us. And where do you think we identified them? You can go scroll through here and you can say, okay, this guy's now vice president. Invite him to serve on our alumni board. Alumni actually like being invited to participate with their university in some constructive way. They really do. So it can be a quite helpful tool. So what if let's try this. What if I say Al-Baha University? So there are some students on LinkedIn. They work for Al-Baha University, so it's not a lot, but there's some around here. If you say to students who maybe the first class in the program, fill out a profile, if this was a tool you wanted to use, it could make it a much more robust tool for you. A lot of engineering majors. Is that helpful? It's another source of learning about students. The other thing is, I think there's a tool that allows when people get promotions, you can get a sense for when that happens. You can get announcements about promotions. And so it's a really, really effective tool. I can see academic applications for it, but I know also our alumni office uses this tool quite a bit. Any questions, comments, thoughts about how you might use this tool? Is this something you might use? Okay. Yes. So we've been talking about alumni surveys. Talked about Brown. I gave you a hint on one of the tools I use to get access to alumni information, to build relationships with alumni, but also to determine employers, major employers that we might target for surveys, if that were important to us. Now I want to shift gears for a moment and talk about program review. So we've up to this point, we really have been talking about curriculum and instruction. But programs are more than that. Programs are, we have to determine whether programs are viable to the marketplace, whether they have the right resources necessary, including faculty and available facilities to deliver the program. We have to determine if our programs are attractive in the market. Right? So, of the potential students who will be interested in this respective field, what proportion of them are coming to our university versus the one down the street? Do we have sustainable enrollment numbers for our program? These are all broader questions that deal with more of the viability and significance of the program itself, broader than teaching and learning processes. So I want you to think first about criteria that you might employ to launch a new program at your university. Because this is important. It's important because if you can think of that criteria, you can also begin to think about how you would evaluate that program over time. Right? So we and the three of us, we're executives at the university. And you, as a faculty member, have this marvelous idea to initiate a new program. You have to convince us that it makes sense to do it. What kind of information would you provide to us to make the case that the university should offer this program? Take 5 minutes to answer that question, and then we're going to walk through some examples together and share with you. How are you going to convince me and my colleagues here that we need to offer that program that you think is just, I don't know, in America we say ضمان, the best program? What is it? What are you going to share with us? Yes, I hear you.
The needs for this country obtained from the ministries, data from the Ministry of Health, for example, or other ministries. They are program related with.
Okay, well, let's hold that thought for a minute, because we're going to engage in discussion first around the subject. But I totally agree with you. There are industries or ministries that have big needs, and it would be compelling to share that with us, that there's this big need out there that the government is suggesting we need to fulfill. So let's talk about it first, and we'll come back together in about 5 minutes. Okay, let's come back together on this one. What we're talking about is program review, but I'm actually changing the question a bit. The question, rather than jumping right into program review, is I'm trying to uncover the criteria that we use to determine that a program is viable in the first place. And why would I do that? Why would I concern myself with this question? Well, in my role, I have a lot of faculty members that come to me with program ideas. Every year, 10 to 12 programs that people want to introduce to our university. But the challenge is, not every program is viable, number one, because a faculty member is interested in offering it. And number two, the university has scarce resources. I don't have a lot of resources to put and distribute across a lot of new programs. So if I do have resources that I can commit to new programs, I want to make sure that they're going to be viable and relevant and meaningful to the community. And if by chance I want to offer a program that will less likely be that, then I want to make sure it's in a mix of programs that are viable and relevant, and that I can afford the one that perhaps is not so much. And so we have some criteria we would employ to determine whether a program, whether we should launch a new program at the university. And so me and my two colleagues, we're the judges of this, three of us, and we're asking you, what criteria would you use? What sort of evidence would you present to us that would suggest we need to offer this new program? What did you come up with?
We have four reasons for this. Data about the needs of the market and the work market for the program, the national and the international attitudes for this program, benchmarks to other similar programs offered by other institutions. And the fourth, faculty members that cover the courses of the program is important, specific third of the faculty member.
So we have, I'm going to repeat these. We have data about the needs of the work market, the marketplace for the program. So if there's a significant demand for this, for the expertise or knowledge and skill that can be offered in the new school program, that will be a pretty good indicator that something needs to be done. If there's the national or there are national or international attitudes about this program, and say a ministry, a particular ministry is saying we need to hire more people in this field. Ministry of Health says we need more educated nurses. Right? Then that would likely inform you that that's a gap, that the institution can serve the common good by fulfilling that need. Okay? Benchmarks to other similar programs. So you look around and there are other universities offering programs in cybersecurity, and they're turning students away. And the employment market has a lot of opportunities in that area. That would be a good indicator that you need to offer the program. We have to have faculty members who can cover it. The expertise required to launch the program is already available. We don't have to go out and hire